Want to get creeped out? Let's talk about someone else who tried the Three Kings ritual. If you don't know what the Three Kings ritual is, it's a way to see the shadow side. The shadow side is something we brush up against all the time. When you see something out of the corner of your eye, you hear a noise in the middle of the night, and you know it wasn't just the house creaking. That's the shadow side. For storytelling purposes, we will name these people Eleanor and Rebecca. Also, just quickly, I'm wearing my favorite shirt ever. It's Mothman in drag. Stop. It's so cute. It's from New Blood Universe, and I'm obsessed. I wear it so often. Anyways, Eleanor is the one who's deciding she wants to do the Three Kings ritual, and her friend Rebecca agrees. Eleanor is doing this ritual in her house. She decides to do it in the basement, but doesn't truly really clean it up properly. She admits that she was going through a really hard time. There were boxes everywhere. Everything was super cluttered. She was in the middle of going through a divorce. Now, her power object is her wedding ring that was given to her by her ex, who she is still technically married to, so technically her wife. Lesbian, love that, even though this is sad. Eleanor believes that there is something absolutely psychological to this ritual. She's heard of people having enlightening experiences, and that is what she's looking for, is an enlightening experience. She doesn't think that anything paranormal is going to happen. She really thinks that anything that does happen is going to be psychological. Anyways, her and Rebecca set everything up, go to bed at about 11, and that night, Eleanor does dream about her wife telling her that she doesn't love her anymore, which is really sad. And then she wakes up at 3:30 in the morning and brings her candle, her lighter, and her power object down into the basement and sits at her throne. Her candle is lit by 3:33. She's got her wedding ring in her hand, and she is staring straight into the darkness, making sure not to look at the mirrors. She sits there for a while and honestly is feeling tense the whole time, but there seems to be this shift where things start to feel even more tense, and it starts to look like from her peripheral that there are shadows kind of shifting in the room. She's not sure if this is from the candle flickering, but she is freaked out and has this feeling like it's something paranormal going on, even though she wasn't expecting that and wasn't expecting to feel scared. This is when Eleanor notices that the mirror on the right looks like it's staring at her, and that might be hard to understand, but basically she can kind of see herself in the mirrors in her peripheral vision, right? The one on the left looks like her side profile, how it should look, because she's looking straight forward. But the one on the right, it looks like her reflection is staring straight at her, turned to look at her, not her profile. This is when she starts to hear faint whispers in the room. She's not even sure at first if that's what she's hearing. She's really straining, trying to tell what she's hearing, but it does start to get louder and more coherent as the minutes wear on. Some of the whispers now seem to be saying thoughts and feelings that she has been repressing. So the whispers are saying things like,
"You're not good enough. She never loved you. You were just a safe option. You were there when no one else was. You're not pretty enough. You're too much. You're suffocating. You suffocate everyone around you. Just have another drink. You're not going to amount to anything more anyways."
While she's hearing all of these whispers that are pretty negative, it looks like it's really coming from the mouth of the mirror on the right. The version of her that's staring at her, it seems like that person, which is her or her doppelganger, is saying these things to her. The voice starts to bring up fights that her and her wife had, and times that she was so insistent on being right or on proving her side that she wasn't really listening to what her wife was saying. But there was this other voice in the back of her mind that was also feeling like her wife hadn't been listening to her either. And there were a lot of times where Eleanor felt like her wife would gaslight her or just truly ignore her feelings. Eleanor was crying at this point, feeling confused, feeling low, feeling depressed, and feeling like she wasn't really worth anything, like she wasn't really going to amount to anything. These had all been truly concerns, fears, worries that had already been in the back of her mind. Eleanor starts to feel like her body is tingling. She's not sure if it's just because she's been sitting for a while, but she's hearing these whispers. She wasn't expecting to have this kind of experience, and she's feeling really scared. And this is when she starts to hear a knocking sound from the left mirror. Now, Eleanor doesn't really know where this comes from because there is this massive amount of fear in her, but out of seemingly nowhere, this feeling of determination also seems to come forward. And she realizes that she needs to fight this doppelganger or version of herself that's staring at her, because it's not who she is. It's not who she wants to be. She's gone through a lot in her life and feels like she's a strong woman who's just constantly hard on herself and not choosing the decisions that would be healthy for her. The way that she interprets this scenario is that the mirror that is essentially her staring at herself and saying these terrible things to her is almost one of her choices. And the reason that nothing else is happening in the other mirror and that it's just her peripheral is because the other choice is just being who she is and embracing her confidence and her determination and all of the good parts about her that she's kind of let go to the wayside, let other people tell her don't exist, let other people put her down to the point where she has no self-confidence. She does also say that alcoholism runs in her family, and since her and her wife broke up, she had been drinking almost on a daily basis. So at this point, she feels like there is again two choices here. One is to have another drink, let the drink take her, continue on the path that she's going on, which is kind of self-destructive and not really serving her, or to be the strong and resilient person that she's always been and that she does know is inside. She just needs to embrace it. These are all the thoughts going through her head, but it's 4:34 a.m. and Rebecca starts calling her name from up the stairs, and Eleanor immediately hears her name. There's no coming out or snapping out of anything. Everything is quiet at this point, and it's just the end of the ritual. After this ritual is all said and done, Eleanor decides she's going to go to therapy. She's going to mend relationships with friends and family members that have kind of gone to the wayside, and she really starts to pursue personal growth. She starts to implement these lessons learned during the ritual, finding ways to forgive herself and others, and to really embrace self-acceptance, which I love. She feels this sense of relief and empowerment, and at this point doesn't even want to get back together with her wife, even though that is something that she wanted previously. She feels like she's started to face her inner demons and she's ready to move forward. Sometimes Eleanor looks in the mirror and can see that other side of herself, that doppelganger that stared at her and told her terrible things about herself, but she makes sure that the right version of her always wins, and that's the version she feeds. Which reminds me of a really cool First Nations story. I think it's called Which Wolf Will You Feed, or The Two Wolves. Regardless, Eleanor also says that she's not sure if this was all psychological, if she imagined this all, if she dreamt it all, or if something paranormal truly happened. Nothing strange in the house that she's in has happened since. She feels safe. She feels happy. This was an enlightening experience for her. She feels like she learned a lot about herself, and I think that there is a really powerful and strong message in this story, especially as a woman who has been through similar things of letting other people's negative comments really weigh me down, really determine my value in my mind or determine my self-worth in my mind. I think it's so important to be able to find value in yourself without external validation. And interestingly enough, that is the journey that I'm on right now. I really want to be able to validate myself, be my own best friend, be my own support system. I think it's really important. I'm always striving to be the best version of myself, and this truly feels like my next step. So I really liked this one. Oh, and if you like these creepy Three Kings ritual stories, I have a series. It's like $2. You can buy it right here. And it is some of the creepiest Three Kings ritual stories I've ever told. They're wild. No pressure. It's just the only way I can make money through social media since I live in Canada. There's no creator fund here. Anyways, that's it for this one. Stay spooky.